often find myself thinking about age and time. It's the one thing that all of us pretty constantly think about, but also the one thing that none of us really want to think about that much. And it makes playing video games that much harder, because every day these things, death, time, aging, feel like they're tightening their grips on our attention span just a little bit more each day. Some of us feel young as the day we're born. Some of us feel the first aches of a pain that we're going to get to know for the next few decades of our lives. And some of us are going through a midlife crisis already. We're deep into our 40s, and we're experiencing age and time all in such different ways. But where do video games fit into all of this? There's that saying, youth is wasted on the young. I really like that saying. I think a lot of that is true. It's trying to capture kind of the essence of, you don't really know how good you had it when you were young, and that's wasted on the youth, because as an adult, you have that awareness to appreciate it in the moment. But when you're young, you don't understand how nice it is, so you're not really appreciating it like you could if you had the same mindset of an older person when you were young. I actually think that video games transcend this saying, though. I don't think that youth is wasted on the young, because when you're young and playing a video game, we all know there's just something different about it. Something that when you're actually older and you have that mental awareness to be able to capture and understand how important the moment is, you really can't quite get back to that pure innocence, that pure bliss of the feeling of playing a video game when you're a kid. There's something about the majority of gaming that is youthful, and it's because they have the time to play it. If you look at the most popular games out there, we're talking Fortnite, we're talking Roblox, we're talking Minecraft, phone games. We're talking these games that are generally for a younger audience, and these games are generally live service nowadays. It's very different from what people used to grow up with and what games looked like when you were growing up in the 80s or the 90s. Games didn't always used to look like this in terms of their popularity and how they kind of captured attention. Nowadays you need the internet and you're hopping on and playing with your friends virtually. But back then, when we were younger, when I was younger even, growing up 90s, 2000s, it still was all about being with someone on the couch next to you. Experiencing that real experience, even though it was virtual on the screen, with someone else. And this isn't to denigrate any virtual experiences. I still have plenty of fun playing online multiplayer, but there was something different about being able to sit on the couch with someone and play Super Mario Bros. 3, and play Smash Bros, and play James Bond. Whatever we're playing together, there was something different about it, and something more special than being online with them. And part of that was the fact that I was young. And this is where I think that youth is wasted on the young just doesn't really apply to video games. Half of the time when we were playing a game, we didn't even need to be playing a co-op game. We were just enjoying each other's company. We were enjoying just watching the other person play the game, whether I was playing Wind Waker on GameCube and my cousin was watching me, or whether I was watching him play some Pokemon game. Even if it was on Game Boy, there was something cool about just sitting next to him, sitting next to my friends, and seeing what they were doing in that world. That's all we needed. And that was only made possible because we didn't have other commitments. We didn't have other things to do. We didn't understand time yet. We didn't understand responsibilities, financial commitments, credit scores, car payments, insurance. We didn't understand any of these things that as adults are constantly trying to take our attention away from enjoying the little things every day. That's why it's so hard. But when we were young, all we had was attention. Focus on the games to really feel like we're existing in those game worlds. We didn't know otherwise, and we didn't have to. That was the nice thing. But here's the thing though. Even though we're adults, even though we're grown now, and maybe you aren't if you're watching this, if not, appreciate what you've got, there are still ways to experience games in the way that we're used to. In the way that we want to, I should say. In the way that we enjoyed them best. Now, whether it's a game like Baldur's Gate 3, or something like Skyrim, or for me, a game like Dredge, there are these games that come along that capture our attentions in so many different ways, and for each of us it clicks differently. The best games to us are always the ones, Elden Ring, Dark Souls for me too, are the ones that really capture our attention and bring us back to that childlike state. that make us forget all those little attention stealers that I just mentioned. That's how you know it's a great game, when you're only focusing on it and you're not being brought to the real world. That's sort of the nice thing about aging though, is one thing that we get used to as we age is being able to filter stuff out. We get better at separating the wheat from the chaff. If there's a bad game, we don't play it. When we were kids, we'd play bad games for days. And a part of that is because we just enjoyed games. We didn't necessarily need to prioritize. We didn't feel that time pressure, so we could play a bad game. And some of my favorite memories are from playing those bad games. But nowadays, we really have to make sure we're putting our attention into the right things. And I would consider this actually a bonus of being an older gamer. But it's important to talk about how it is just harder to play games as an adult. I mean, we're all balancing these things like lives, relationships, friendships, side hobbies, having an existence outside of all of our other commitments, and fitting games into that is tough. It really becomes a balancing act, just like life is with everything. And that's part of the reason why people are so disappointed when a game is bad. I understand it. Why people are less hesitant to pre-order games as they get older. It's all these things where we just feel this lack of trust because time is the most valuable commodity. And the way that AAA games have been going, it really makes it tough to trust them. And we want to be able to spend our attention and our time on good things. This is why I'm always preaching about going towards indie games and why that's the way to go, because we have more of a guarantee of a respect of our time and a respect of our money. Even if they're not, we still can appreciate they respected our time because it was short. They just couldn't make a long game. I mean, when you talk about Silksong, which seems like it's going to be in the Game of the Year discussions, and I've had a blast playing it so far on stream, it seems like that game has captured the minds of many because it was $20. It did something we as adults don't always see, which is that it respected our time and our wallets in the best possible way. I always find myself sabotaging my way out of a game. When I'm like, no, I don't feel like I'm spending time well put into this game. I should probably abandon it because there are better ones. And what I'm actually doing is robbing myself of being fully attentive to that game and enjoying it as it was. I'll catch myself all the time. In fact, it's happening right now with Resident Evil 4 Remake, where I'm playing through it, I'm experiencing it, and the last two playthroughs played it on the TV, no headphones or anything. After the last playthrough, I realized I'm not as immersed as I was. I didn't actually process what was happening, what was going on in this game, and now I'm just sort of fallen out of love with it, and that's because when I played, maybe I shouldn't have played. I wasn't ready to play. In fact, I should have just done something else because I was only playing this game because it was a habit or because I was feeling some dopamine itch, whatever it was. I wasn't actually interested in the game, so I sabotaged the experience for myself. Really interesting how we do that. But it happens all the time where I'll be playing a game and then I'll play it out of habit and I'll realize the only reason after that I want to stop playing is because I actually didn't set myself up for success there by being fully invested every single time I played. Or maybe I was watching a video alongside a really long game, like playing The Witcher 3, and then I had a video going in the background. I know some people like that, but for me, that's not the way to play a game. I am just half in, half out. I'm not really experiencing anything in that moment. That's something that, since I recognize time and everything, I find myself doing is sabotaging that because I feel like my attention needs to be somewhere else. And the best moments are those best games where they do bring us into that attention. But also we can harbor it ourselves, like I'm saying, where we don't spread our attention too thin, where we only play the game when we're ready to play the game, or when we've done all of our responsibilities. This is something we never had to do as kids, but now that we're adults, now that we have a recognition of time and responsibility, we do have to be disciplined in the way that we experience these, because otherwise we're going to burn ourselves out and we're not going to give them the attention that they deserve. In the end, it's all a balancing act. All that we can hope to do as adults while we're growing up is to be able to learn enough about ourselves to experience things in the right way, right? We have to learn to balance what we need and who we are as individuals. Whether we can play games for 6 hours and not feel guilty at all, and if we do feel guilty afterwards, why? What's going on there? What have you not done? Or what kind of mental stuff's going on that maybe you should check in with yourself about? At the end of the day, games, just like anything, just like any habit, are something that we can use as a reflection on ourselves and view how we are interacting with the world. This is nothing that we had to think about. Youth is innocence, and the youth of playing games allowed us to experience those games without being able or not having to tackle any of these things. It's a blessing and a curse, because one of the coolest things about growing up is learning more about yourself, right? But that also comes with the curse of having to balance that so that you can enjoy your habits and your activities in the best ways. It's really an interesting thing, and it's how aging affects how we play games. Sure, I still miss those days of sailing the seas of Wind Waker, not thinking about anything else besides how cool it would be if there was a storm, and how cool it would be if I could find the next island and see what kind of treasures on there. Or if I'm playing the Nintendo 64 and the spooky kind of cool ambiance that almost every game had on that console. All I could think about was that, and I'd feel that. And once I shut off the console, I wouldn't have any responsibilities besides maybe a little bit of homework or what I was going to eat next. That was bliss at its finest. But as an adult, it's not so simple anymore. We have to balance all of these things, and I find it so interesting. So that's just kind of my rambling about aging and how it is different now that we're adults. This is something we all have to deal with, but if we want to experience video games in the best way, we have to face this. And it's really important, because I feel like a lot of people are coasting through video games, not giving them the attention they deserve, because as hard as it might be to admit, maybe now's not the time to play it. Or maybe you aren't ready. Because I know that when I play games in a bad mental state, I shouldn't be playing them at all. They can be healthy to escape something, and that's how you have to know yourself. When you're using them as an escape mechanism, when you're using them to experience them, or when you're just using them to fill blank space, which is a bad thing, if you ask me. So, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.